I thought he started jerking off.
Oh, no, not yet. We're not live yet.
Yes, we are.
That is not the way to start the show. So a brief semi-brief disclaimer before I shut my stuff up before it repeats. Oh no, it's on mute. All right, that's good. This is going to be. I kept saying religious show in the past, but it's not really religious. It's kind of like spiritual beliefs, mindset, perspective, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you are sensitive to these topics, very religious, and not interested in hearing other people's perspectives on that topic or similar topics, then do not watch this one. No trolling, no rude comments, no disrespect to any of my guests or the people, in chat will be tolerated. You will be banned without warning, because this is your warning now. I want everyone to be respectful of everyone's views, whether they believe it or not. This is not to convert anybody. This is not to say our belief or my belief or whoever's belief is the right one. This is just what we believe, and that's it. So just, I guess, briefly introduce yourself for people that might not know you, because we have a couple of new faces that are on my channel. So anyone want to start? Just introduce yourself.
I'm Yeti's uncle. That's me. I don't have anything interesting. If you want to know my preference or religion, I would be a Satanist.
Yeah, hi, Ren. I'm Ross Mullins, or Alaska Vapor. Alaska Vapor here. I live in a little town up in Alaska, and basically my views are as an atheist, and I have a deeper interest in religion and as a phenomena and how it affects society, and also, that's pretty much where I'm coming from.
All right.
Raven's not going to talk. I'm Professor. For you. You guys all know me. Yes. Are you doing this on purpose, Raven?
I'm trying not to, but you're helping me. Ready? Go.
I'm Professor 03. Everybody knows me. I am a spiritualist rather than believing in organized religion.
All right.
Everybody, I'm Raven. Everybody knows me. And if you don't, you really haven't been paying attention that much. And I practice Wicca.
You getting good at it?
Huh?
You getting good at it?
Yeah, I'm really good at it.
Do you have a special wand that you had personally made?
Matter of fact, no, I don't use a wand. That's TV.
We need to work on it.
I gotta take a Facebook here. I'll be right back.
All right.
FaceTime.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, well, I'm Ren Vapes, obviously the host of the channel. Just to briefly talk about my perspective, I guess I would lean towards probably fresh more than anybody, at least as it stands now. I just consider myself a spiritualist. I don't believe in organized religion for me personally. I do come from a somewhat religious background. I was never really heavily religious, but for the most of my life, I would consider myself a Christian up until a couple years ago, whereas now I don't believe in any kind of religion. I do find it interesting, and I like to talk to people about it, but a lot of times, like we were discussing before the show started, it seems to spark a lot of arguments, and not many people can actually just talk about it without getting heated or offended or anything. So I don't think we'll have an issue. I mean, the panel here, I know most of them, and I don't think it'll be an issue, but we'll see. But that's like my brief background, and yeah. So I don't know who wants to start off just talking about how they grew up, like what beliefs they might have had, and then where they're at now and how it progressed. If no one wants to start, I will.
I was going to say I can start. I grew up. My mom was fairly open. I was raised by my mom by herself. I was raised fairly openly as far as religion went. When we did do religious services, it was always Lutheran, which is kind of like Catholicism or Christianity light version. It's so we didn't spend all that much time in church growing up. I did attend Sunday school. There's a religious group in town that, what were they called? The Royal Rangers, I think they were called. I participated in that for a long time. But Christian, I just considered myself a Christian until I kind of got away from home. And when I got away from home and I started experiencing kind of what was out there in the world, yeah, there is a pretty bad echo. Is it me?
I don't know. Is there still an echo, guys?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear
I'm
it.
hearing an echo.
No, I'm not hearing an
There
echo.
is still an echo.
Is it?
And so as I grew older and I kept my mind open, I definitely saw more out there in the world, and honestly, big religion was kind of disheartening to me. But when I got out on my own, and I kind of saw how much of a business it was, and honestly, it offended me. And I turned my back on everything, and I got fairly close to being an atheist at that point. But I've had several hard points in my life where I felt something that I can't explain reach out. So reach out and tell me that things were going to be okay. And you can't be an atheist when you believe that there's something else out there that you can't explain. And so that's how I arrived where I am now. And I believe that there's a power out there. They want good things. They may not always want good things for me, but they want good things for the world as a whole. And so you live with the way the world is, and you do your best with it. And that's how I live my life.
Good philosophy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I started out in a Catholic family. I was an altar boy, and the older I got, the more inconsistencies I was seeing in not just Catholics but Protestant religions, and I just wanted to find something that was true and that wasn't inconsistent with what they were saying. So through research, and I did my research, I found Wicca, which there are no inconsistencies. It's part of the oldest religion out there, and everything is here. Everything that's in the books, everything that's in, if you want to call it a Bible, is here. You see it, taste it, So I stuck with the practice. I like the philosophy that you can do it. It's basically, to make it short, and that you can do whatever you want, just don't hurt anyone while doing it. So
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I too was raised by just my mother, and I mean it was just me and her until I was 16, and she got like really hardcore into Bible thumping and going to church, and then dragging me along. I was, a young kid. I was really rebellious as a kid, Hell, I'm still really rebellious. And after a while, I was a pretty intelligent child because I would always read and do research. You know, when somebody would tell me something, I would always go back. If I had any sort of doubt, I would always go back and double check. And like when it came to religion, instead of just going on what like the preacher would say, I would go back and look at what other religions had to say about, like, say, that same topic or the same issue. And that's how I kind of formed that, like, the three main religions are pretty much the same exact religion, or the three big religions are more or less the same religion, and they're based off of the same stuff. Some of the same people are all in the books. Like Jesus is in all three of the books. You know, the Catholics, the Jews, and the Quran. So, you know, there's a link there. But you know, like I said, for me, it just started out with rebellion. I got kind of tired of that and that lifestyle, and I didn't believe in it. You know, I didn't believe in forcing their doctrine on me when I didn't agree with it. And I wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized that I'm a Satanist. It's kind of weird. I mean, Satanists aren't made; they're born. And if you read the Satanic Bible, which is not a Bible like a holy scripture, it's not. It's just a bunch of essays. Is all it is. And it puts a kind of an interesting spin on it. And all a Satanist is an atheist. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, we don't believe in a God. We don't pray to nobody. You know, I don't believe in Satan as a person. There's no such thing. It's just it's kind of like their kind of like the role model kind of thing. They just pick Satan as the adversary since that's what he technically is in all the other religions. And you know, and sort of like what Raven was saying, it's kind of do what you want, and it's really selfish. It's do whatever pleases you, basically, as long as you're not offending, hurting, or stepping on the toes of anybody else. You know, and that's kind of how I always lived my life. And then as I read and, you know, obtained more things. I mean, because there's more to it than just being an atheist, you know. But that's the main thing. I mean, you know. But that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
For the longest time, and I think this is like a pretty typical, I guess, misconception about Satanists, is that they do worship Satan. And that's not necessarily the case.
Well,
And
sorry.
you can rebuttal or whatever.
No, you're absolutely right. A Satanist does not worship Satan. Now, there are other things that they call themselves Satanists, and they're not. You know, like devil worshippers. Those people actually believe in an anthropomorphic deity. I mean, they pray to whatever, I guess Lucifer or whatever. I mean, Luciferians, they believe in Lucifer, and they pray to him as a god. I'm not one of those people, you know.
Yeah.
And you're right, and a lot of it with the Satanists, they get thrown in one big pile, and they all worship a devil, and they all kill cats, and they all, you know, backmask music and all that crap, you know, which none of it is true. None of
Well,
it's true.
well, we get blamed for the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
we worship the devil. We sacrifice babies and animals and stuff, and we don't do any of that. It's not even close.
Nope.
You're not touching
That's
Momo.
huh?
You're not touching Momo.
Yeah. That's TV. You know, there's different kinds of Wiccans out there, just like there's different kind of religions out there. You know, but they all basically practice the same thing, all have the same beliefs. But there is no devil worshiping involved. However, we do embrace evil because without evil there is no good. So you have to have one or the other one don't exist. And,
Yep.
and when you start saying that, people are like, well, I thought you don't worship the devil. And I'm like, I didn't say anything about the devil. I just said evil, bad. You gotta, it's yin and yang. You gotta have one for the other one to exist.
Yeah.
You know? And earlier, Rin was saying, if I have a wand. Well, some that practice do have wands. I don't. You don't really need one. It's just something to channel your energy. Some people use them. I don't. And I don't have a broom. I don't have a black cat. Matter of fact, I have a white cat. You know, so you know, there's a lot of myths. And not too long ago, the government and the religious society recognized Wicca as a bona fide religion.
Yeah.
So, come a long way.
You guys have any kind of structure, like a church building or anything that you have as a formal meeting place, or how's that work?
Well, it's basically the outside. You know, it's all about nature. You know, it's all about the earth. It's all about the elements. You know, earth, wind, fire, water, and spirit. So it's basically the outside. There are some that gather in a building. It's not necessarily a church. It's like a gathering place. You know, but it's not like going to church.
Right.
It's usually the outside, you know. You know, and then you have solitaries. That's me. I practice by myself, you know. And then you have covens, which are more than one person, you know, like 7, 8 people get together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but as for a set church, no.
Ren, you were telling us how you got involved here. What's your story?
My family is kind of unorthodox. We're pretty, I don't know, like, I guess the best way to term my parents would probably be hippie-ish. We're not, like, conventional. We talk very openly. You know, no one's ever been really that strict or anything like that. So even when we were going to church sometimes, for the most part, I mean, it was never really that structured. I did go to a Lutheran school for a couple of years, which actually turned me more off to religion than any other time in my life, just because, and I know not everyone is like this, but when you're surrounded by such bitter people that are just so narrow-minded and look down on everyone for everything, it really rubbed me the wrong way and made me feel like this is something, well, it started to spark the idea that it wasn't something that I really wanted to be a part of. Because unfortunately, although a religion is supposed to have one effect on people, it tends to have the adverse effect. It tends to make people more separated than anything, because you're constantly looking at other people and seeing how they're different from you, how their views are different than you, you know, that your religion is the one religion, and I just don't agree with that. And like I said, not everyone is like this. There's plenty of religious people that, you know, just feel like that's their religion and other people are free to feel what they, you know, and believe what they want to believe. But I'm just talking about, like, the majority of people that I have met in my life that are really religious are just very judgmental. That's just my personal experience. And as I've gotten older, I don't know if it has to do with getting older or what the deal was, but just like through doing research, mainly on the PaRiNormal, which is kind of ironic, but just hearing different people's perspectives, and I guess I was always questioning it for, like, the longest time, but, like, with my religion, you know, Christianity, which I guess would be, like, because, like, the Lutheran thing was only for, like, a couple years to go to that school, but mainly I consider myself a Christian. You know, if you don't believe in Jesus as your Savior, that He died for you, then you're going to hell. Like, just bottom line. Most people would agree that's kind of like what they believe. And I personally don't believe that. I believe if you're a good person, why would you be condemned just because you don't believe in something? That doesn't make sense to me. So I couldn't believe in something like that. I couldn't believe in condemning good people. I believe that if you're a good person, you shouldn't need a reason to be. Like, I've heard one person say, and I've actually heard a couple people say, well, if there is no God and if there is no hell, what's the point of being good? That's not a good mentality to have. Just because there's no consequence to being bad, like a physical, tangible consequence, doesn't mean you should be a horrible person. You should just innately want to be a good person.
There will be consequences. I mean, if you're an asshole, somebody's going to call you on it. You know, I mean, you can't just walk around through life and being a jerk or you know, whatever. I mean, somebody's going to sock you in the mouth, or you're going to do something and go to jail, you know. There's always consequences.
I've been doing good, balancing both worlds. Some people would say to me that I was evil, and I would just always tell them, and I tell them, well, I'm the good side of evil.
Everybody has their
in the white light.
I heard a good one that seems pretty true to me, and that is there's good people and there's bad people, but if you're a good person, it takes religion to make you do bad things. And, you know, I think that's kind of true. There are good people, there are bad people, but religious people do bad things, and they are good people. They consider themselves good people. And I think that's where we're at in the world today. You know, you've got all this conflict between religions. Our religion is better than yours and that sort of thing. My own personal evolution comes from evolution, basically. I have really dug into the whole theory of evolution, and to me, it's the only thing that makes real sense to us as human beings. We came out of basically slime back in hundreds of millions of years ago, and through luck, and you know, this is where the big question is: where did life come from? Well, it came from organisms that were able to finally figure out how to replicate, and from all that replication, we have now arisen as human beings, and we are the lucky one because we are here. And my own belief is that, and you know, I do sense a little bit of antipathy from just what you guys have said toward atheists, as though atheists are not really that, they can't be really good, or, but to me, an atheist is a highly evolved person who has been able to discard these superstitious beliefs that control so many minds. Atheists tend to be people who have a humanist viewpoint. They feel more in touch with the humanity of the world and how fortunate we are to be here. And that's where the spiritual part of atheism comes in. You can look at the world and its beauty and the art and the music, and a lot of that derived from historical religion, you know, the great symphonies of Bach and Beethoven. These things were written pretty much under a contract to the church, because they were the only sponsors of those sorts of things, and these guys were having to make a living, but they happened to also be geniuses in their own right. You know, Galileo, he made all his real scientific breakthroughs. You know, prior to Galileo, everybody thought the moon and the sun revolved around the earth, and he's the first guy to show that, no, we have a galaxy here. We're revolving around the sun. The sun is our central, you know, star that keeps us alive. And So the church was what was sponsoring Galileo's not that research, because he was basically excommunicated because his views flew in the face of what the common beliefs were back in his time. But now we recognize him for the genius that he was back in those dark ages, So evolution is, in my mind, the human brain, is where we have achieved our glory, and it is glorious. I mean, life is glorious. We celebrate it, and that, to me, if you want to call that a religion, I guess you could, but it really gets down to our own personal beliefs, our own state in the evolutionary process. Not to say that religion may not sweep the world again, because it's a powerful force. Hugely powerful force, and it's a force that has a place because it found itself able to replicate. Evolution is essentially organisms replicating over millions of years, and ideas replicate just like organisms do. I mean, we have more in common with corn and than we do have with whales, for example, other mammals, in our DNA. I mean, that's a fact. And, if you really get into this, the science is going on today with well, when I was a kid, hell, science was pretty crude relative to where we are today. Now the understanding of DNA and RNA and all these elements that go to make us what we are, it's fabulous, really. I mean, it's just fabulous. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Very well put.
Very well put.
Yeah, my view on atheists, I don't see them as bad people. I just see them as having a different belief. I mean, I don't understand why a person's religious beliefs, for the most part, deems them good or bad. It shouldn't really matter too much. I mean, if it's their personal beliefs, they're not imposing their stuff on other people, I don't see why it matters. Just like, a lot of Muslims have bad, reputations now because of, everything that has happened recently. Not every Muslim's like that. There are plenty of them that believe completely differently. Every religion or belief has, what do they call those? Radicals?
Radicals.
Right.
or kook.
Fundamentalists, really. I mean, when you become a fundamentalist, you have become so indoctrinated that your belief is what you want to force on others, and that's a tragedy. I respect religion. I think religion does wonderful things in the world. The problem is when they think they have the right to invade other people's beliefs and try to force their beliefs on others, which is kind of a part of the Christian religion, the proselytizing. That's, all the missionaries that go out and try to, they try to make people who have no religion become whatever faith they happen to ascribe themselves to. And, you ask them the question, well, you get a tribe in New Guinea, for example, who doesn't have any kind of basic religion. They may have spiritual, naturalistic views on life, but the missionaries come in and they will say, you're going to go to hell if you don't, you're going to go to this horrible place and burn forever if you don't take up our beliefs. And so some of them do. They don't know any better, and yet you have to ask them the question, well, what about the ones you never were able to convert? What's going to happen to them? If they don't even know about religion, are they going to hell? I mean, this whole thing of heaven and hell goes back so far. I mean, like you, Raven, you brought up yin and yang. That goes back 5,000 or more years in Chinese philosophy. And it's a beautiful concept. I mean, it is the balance. It's the dark and the light. know, it's always been part of man to have the dark side and the light side, and yet through evolution, I think we tend to know what is good and what is bad, just as part of our nature as human beings. You know, I mean, some people may be defective and are born bad, or through their upbringing, they have attitudes that are so antisocial that they become criminals and whatnot. I mean, I used to run with a motorcycle gang, and some of these guys were really damaged individuals, but they were great people. You know, we all enjoyed motorcycling, and you know, so you know, there's just a wide range of people's experience, and to condemn somebody, you know, I mean, where I think things go off the track is when the government starts to try to manipulate your life like a religion. You know, I mean, you can't smoke marijuana, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, where's the freedom in that? I think atheists tend to believe in freedom, although they don't feel you have the freedom to harm others, certainly. But you know, it's a crazy world we live in. We're still evolving, and hopefully, maybe many generations in the future we'll get there. We'll all become Buddhas, you know.
Well, as for religion in that, many people know, so many people don't know, that paganism is the oldest religion out there. It outdates Christianity. They worship gods. Everybody had their own different gods they worshipped and why they worshipped them. And they got along happy. Now, that said, I do believe that there was a man, Jesus. I don't believe he walked on water. I don't believe he had powers. I believe that he was a philosopher. And he walked around with the philosophy of his beliefs and his religion. And it's just like if you tell somebody something and then 10 other people tell it, by the time it gets to the 10th person, the story's greater than what originally happened. You know, it's like going fishing. I went fishing. I caught a fish this big. Actually, it was a fish this big. You know what I mean? But you got to make the story greater. All stories have some base in truth. So yeah. I believe that he was just a man that just was a philosopher, and through interpretation of writing the Bible, you know, like these stories got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. As we all know, supposedly the Catholics, the Vatican has got parts of the Bible that weren't added in. Now, what these parts were would probably shed light on what's the truth about this Bible.
It's called the Apocrypha, and I've got them.
Yeah. So, you know, I do believe that there is some truth in the stories that are in the Bible, you know?
Well, there's good moral teachings there. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, so much of Christianity is based on the resurrection of Jesus. He rose from the dead. Now, to me, that's total BS. There's just no evidence that anybody has ever risen from the dead.
Zombie.
Yeah.
I'd have plenty of times.
Zombie worship. Well, the thing about the Bible is that all those stories that are in there, especially the Old Testament, have all been told before. Those are all stories that are in Zoroastrianism. A lot of the Middle Eastern religions have those exact same stories, almost word for word even.
Yeah.
They just change some names, or some names translate differently. Of course, I know that Judaism is an Eastern, comes from Eastern But that's how they just adopted it from their stories, and of course translated it to the way they needed to use it, and thus another religion is born. And of course, then Christianity came from Judaism. It's just a big circle, basically. I mean, because all that stuff had been said before. It's just a different version.
And even Christianity, all their holidays that they celebrate, they're all pagan holidays.
Yep.
And that they just put their little tiny twist on. You know?
Yeah, it was one of those things when they were putting Christianity together, when they were writing the official book, they took different holidays, different pagan holidays, and placed their own, these created holidays on them to make it more comfortable and make it easier for people to accept. Yep, that's fairly well documented how far it goes back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. An interesting thing that I was reading recently in evolution was you take a dog or an animal, they aren't evolved, they never developed language. Although they have a certain amount of understanding, they can do things, we love them, but take your animal, he's laying in front of the fire, a bunch of snow falls off the roof and makes a big crashing noise, and the dog jumps up, growls, looks around, barks, but then he kind of doesn't see anything, lays down again. Well, humans, I think, have the nature, because we had developed language, and it was before the written language, where language was evolving, we tend to ascribe meaning and agency to things that we don't understand. And when you hear sounds, you think, oh, what's out there? Oh, must be something out there doing that. And so you create these ghouls and goblins and all these other, fantasies in a sense. And religion kind of springs out of that. You go back to the really early times of man's evolution. There were gods of all kinds: nature, gods of the earth, gods of the sky. And then you had shamans come in, and in order to help you make decisions, they would pour wax on water, and we evolved now to where we flip a coin when we have to make a hard decision, because we can't really do it on our own. So you got to kind of go for the heads or tails. And we still have these animal instincts in us, but we have agency. Ascribe all of this to supernatural things often, and that's, I believe, where religion kind of sprang from. And in the end, I don't know what the end will be, but when our galaxy collapses or something. But for us as individuals here on Earth today, we got to be where we're at, and whatever a person's private beliefs are, they need to act on those, but keep them personal.
If you look at some religious beliefs, it all based on fear.
Yeah.
If you do this, if you do this bad is going to happen to you. It's a lot of it's based on fear, like a control factor.
That's what the church is. The church has kind of risen up in order to create that. The heaven and hell, the concept of heaven and hell. The church feeds off of that.
Yeah, I read somewhere. This was a true thing, but I guess somebody was trying to make a point about Christianity and God, and if there is a God out there and that. And the story goes that there was a family that throughout their history, they were faithful churchgoers. They'd always help out in church, always go to church. And one day this family is on their way to church They're parked at a stop sign. A branch falls out of a tree, crushes the back of the car, and kills the 2 kids in the back of the car. Is there a God?
Yeah.
You know, and the whole basis was like, what did those kids do to die? You know, they were young. You know, so you know, I believe I like I said, I got my own beliefs. You know, so I don't believe in just one God. You know, one being that's out there. You know, I have my beliefs that there are different gods for different like seasons and and different things.
I kind of believe we are our own gods. Our minds are our gods, and what we do with them is really what counts. You know, it's kind of a, I don't know how I mean, gods, until there's some evidence that gods exist. I mean, if some voice came out of the sky or some miracle happened that I could actually see and document, I would believe something might exist outside of my own mind, but kind of hard to grasp on something that doesn't exist for you personally. But, you know, all these religious fundamentalists think, well, I have my own personal God. He's spoken to me. And you see the extreme of that through religion in the suicide bombers. These people literally believe that there's a better life after death, and they're willing to blow themselves up in order to go up to paradise. They've been inculcated by their books, by certain bogus, priests that kind of have put this into their minds, and they become infected with this idea. And in a sense, religion, in my mind, is a kind of infection of the mind.
Well, what I always say is, if it makes you happy and if it fulfills your life, go for it. As long as you're not going to sit there and try to force it on other people. But if it makes you happy and that's what makes you get through your day, and honestly, then go for it.
And do no harm to others. That's the key.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It. Harm none. Do what I want, but harm none.
Absolutely. That's what freedom is, you know.
You know, you get these suicide bombers. They think they're going to go and meet 72 virgins. So what if they get there and those 72 virgins are guys?
Yeah.
Or goats, Raven.
Yeah, or goats, you know, or camels, you know.
Call me crazy, but 72 virgins doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Who the hell?
I like somebody who knows what they're doing a little bit.
I tell you what, I wouldn't want 72 virgins. I'd want like 72 slutty chicks, you know what I mean, who actually know what the fuck they're doing, you know?
Right on.
That way you walk away and you know you learned something.
Yeah. I don't want to sit there and fucking teach 72 people. That's a lot of fucking work. Screw that.
I don't think I got the gams for this.
Yeah.
Oh, golly.
Well, I like to think that, kind of like what you was saying, I think that a lot of it was based, and it's just what I think. A lot of it is just based on fear, and primarily fear of death. That's why there's the talk of after you die. After you die, see, I'm not going to do shit for you now, but when you die, you're going to go to this magical place up in the clouds, and there's going to be gold on the streets, and all your dead relatives that you haven't seen in decades are going to be there. But until that happens, you got to do everything that I say and blah, 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 you know. And I think people, when they get close to death or know they're going to die, kind of get bullied into it, you know. They're like, oh, shit, if I don't do this, you know, I won't get to go live in the clouds and or whatever. I don't know.
I agree. The fear of death is probably one of the key factors that's caused all of this to kind of happen as it's happened. You know, it's the unknown.
I think people should be worrying more about the fear of life than the fear of death, because life you got to go through every single day.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that are far worse off than we are that are probably fearing life. You know, I mean, all these refugees coming out of the Mideast and everything. I mean, what a horrible circumstance they find themselves in. It's kind of got to be a hell for them, you know.
That would be scary.
See, one of the problems that I have with religion is that, I said it in the chat, to me, religion, it promotes ignorance. Like, you're not supposed to question things. You're supposed to have faith. And if you do, that's fine. I can't do that. I question everything. Sometimes to the point where it's unhealthy. Because I have kind of an obsessive personality. But, I don't know. I can't live and just be blind to things. Like, if things don't make sense to me, they don't make sense. And I just can't live my life that way.
Love your attitude.
Yeah, I agree. If I can't see it, I can't believe in it. You know, and that if I start hearing voices, I'm not going to start reading a book. I'm going to call a psychiatrist.
There you go.
I mean, call me crazy. That's just not how my mind works.
Well, in my religion, my beliefs, I see it every day. I live it every day. It's always around me, you know. So, you know, the proof is there. You know, the Bible was written by man.
Yeah.
The world exists from nature, and that's what I practice. So.
But you don't need to call it a religion, you know. Even though that's a convenient thing to say, you could live without calling it a religion. You'd just be doing what you're doing, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's just, it's a comfortable way for, I guess you could say, outsiders to call it. I mean, I don't mean outsiders, but, you know, somebody that doesn't share the same beliefs as you. You know, just lump it into the big word, call it religion, and that way we know where you're coming from.
Right.
You know, a philosophy if you want. You know, that's the way I look at it. It's more of a philosophy than a religion.
The philosophy of life.
Well, just like Buddhism isn't technically a religion, it's a philosophy. At least that's what it was meant to be.
Right. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we were talking about Jesus earlier and how stories were written about this great man who probably was one of the outstanding philosophers and humanists of his time, and he created such a difference by the way he lived that people wrote about him and, you know, created all these myths. It's sort of like today we've got the Dalai Lama. Here's a great individual, an Eastern. I wouldn't necessarily call him a mystic, but he is a beautiful person. I mean, he is a holy person in his own right. He just never criticizes. He's just a happy person who seems to see the things as they are and enjoy life, laughter, you know, all the things that are meaningful to us as humans.
I think we're all holy in our own right.
I agree.
It's just how you choose to carry yourself and come off to others.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, we're all lucky. We're the lucky ones because we are alive. And the chances of having been born are minute. You know, just a luck of the draw. One sperm, you know, got into one egg and a couple of people that had no idea that you would exist, and now you exist, and they're gone, and it's just the stream of life as it progresses and evolves, and it'll continue on as long as we take care of the planet we live on and don't let it go to rack and ruin by, well, I don't want to get into climate change thing, but fossil fuels, you know, we're burning up hundreds of millions of years of accumulation of carbon. That's what oil and coal is. It's the digging out of this ancient carbon from the ground and burning it up into the atmosphere. And that's literally got the potential to destroy our planet. So, you know, going for clean energy, that is the key of our planet's future. And I'm a great advocate for getting toward that goal.
A lot of people will say it's too late.
Yeah, we're getting to that point where it may be. If we go another decade without change, it may be too late. You know, they talk about the tipping point. Once CO2 in the atmosphere gets over 450 parts per million, and we're at 400 now, the greenhouse effect will pretty much change our planet to where it almost will become uninhabitable. There just won't be enough food. You know, it's a hideous prospect.
The world's been destroyed plenty of times and has always come back.
Yep.
Always come back. It always cleans
Yeah,
itself.
after the great extinctions, sure, I agree. We will be the extinct ones.
Exactly.
It's always come back, you know, and it's you know, and it's so.
Well, it'll be like just like with the dinosaurs, they got wiped out. We'll just be the next great thing that gets wiped, the next civilization that gets wiped out. Something else will come along, you know.
That would be the likely outcome, all right?
Yeah. Well,
So,
and they picked the right thing to wipe out because man is the worst thing that happened to this planet.
from your perspective, where do you see your existence progressing once your body dies? Do you believe in an afterlife of any sort, or do you think that you just die?
I think we just go back to the basic chemical makeup that makes us up, the basic molecules that make our bodies there's only a handful of ingredients in our carcasses. Most of us are just kind of water and fluid, and we go back to stardust, you know.
I believe in an afterlife. I believe in this. Some sort of afterlife. A little bit of our essence goes into a new life. Maybe not next year. Maybe, you know, it could be down the road. But that's what I believe. I've seen things that makes me go that way. You know, firsthand. It's just not something I've read or something. You know, I've seen it firsthand. With people shouldn't know things that's happened 50, 60 years ago to somebody else, but yet they know, and they recollect things. How would they know that if they never actually met that person?
Yeah, I almost could buy into karma, you know, the concept of karma, but that's a stretch.
I think that's kind of a little bit of a tricky question, Rand, because you know I think that honestly I think that you know, when you die, you die. I personally don't believe in a soul. However, there's no way you cannot in science you cannot destroy energy. Energy is only recreated, you know, or it takes a different form. Energy cannot be destroyed. So, and I mean, if you look at just what powers your brain, it's though it's minuscule, it's still energy. It's you know, it's running on calories. Calories are heat. Uh, we're not going to do a physics lesson, but so that's kind of an issue with me because I honestly do not believe there's a soul. I believe if I were to drop dead now, it would just be a corpse on the on the couch. You know, and my essence or my me, what makes me me, will just cease. It will just no longer be. You know, I'll be a memory in some people's mind. That's the only way I would live on, is in pictures and in other people's minds.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think energy, it is, the whole concept of the conservation of energy. There's a certain amount of energy in the universe, and it isn't getting less. It's not getting more.
Right.
But we are part of that whole matrix of energy, and what happens to our energy is part of the return of the chemical makeup that we have in our bodies goes back to the earth and gets reborn as some form of new energy. Perhaps doesn't increase the energy in the universe, but
No, it feeds
kind
bugs.
of recycling. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope to power someone's vaporizer someday. I believe that this is what we've got. This is it, and we should be making the best of it,
Absolutely.
and living our life as fully as we can, and with as little fear as we can. And I've always found that fear and control are such hurtful tools to people, and having experienced it from all these different angles in my life, that's why I see things on the news and I just get so disheartened by them. And I learned long ago, my solution is go turn on Cartoon Network. Because if I get involved in what some fundamental agency is throwing out there, all it does is it brings me down. And that's not where I need to be. I need to be in the place where I can do as much good and live as fully as I can. Not just for me, for all of you. And like I said, when it's over and my energy becomes something else, I hope to power your vaporizer.
Well, you're doing a good job of that, French. I've really enjoyed watching your streams and all the stuff you're into and all the conversations you have. You have a good impact on your viewers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I must say, this high technology that we've got of being able to talk like this among a group of people. I mean, I look back at my grandparents. They lived at a time in their youth before there was electricity and before they had electric lights. I mean, the progress we've made technologically is just unbelievable, and it's going to continue as long as the finances of the world don't collapse. Which I have a little bit of a fear that could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at our national debt, that's awful scary.
I was watching a documentary the other day on kind of how Star Trek: The Next Generation wound up getting, how the show came about and how it evolved into the show that it did. And you listen to kind of the point where Gene Roddenberry got in his life towards the end. He thought he could have been L. Ron Hubbard if he wanted to.
Right.
He thought he could have written his own religion, and in some cases he thought that he already had. And
kind of did.
Yeah, exactly. He kind of did, exactly. But his belief, he was a very humanist person, and he wanted his vision of the future of man always evolving past what these difficulties are. That's something I could get behind. I would love to get behind that we could evolve past the need for money, that we could evolve past the need to hurt each other. I would love to believe that. The world makes it a difficult thing to accept and to actually visualize. But I do live with a very humanist mindset that, yeah, it's amazing that we've evolved as far as we have. 50 years ago, if we were all having this conversation, or well, 60, probably like 60 years ago, one of us would probably have gotten lynched or something like that. And it's incredible that we can have a conversation like this, you know, among 5 reasonable adults, 6 reasonable adults, no 5. I'm having, man, am I counting?
And a cat.
And a cat, and Momo. All hail Momo.
My God. Our God is...
Sorry.
That's right.
Rin's distracting us as usual.
Ivana heard me say it. Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's great. I like your attitude, Fresh. I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, but the only reason that we couldn't, and I hate to say that I honestly believe this, that we could not get to that point, is because of how greedy and selfish man is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right now.
Look at all of our wars, and I mean, you don't even have to look at wars. Just look at your city. You know what? All the shit that goes on in your city.
Yeah.
You know, man is just a selfish, greedy son of a bitch. I mean, they don't care about nobody but themselves, and they don't care if it'll you know, it's the common good. You know, they just want for me, and I want it now.
Well, there's lots of people, though, that do believe in the common good, and I think there's getting to be more and more of them. They're not in the Republican Party, however.
Well, I'm going to say 2 things. Animals are the most honest creatures on this earth. They're not going to act like they like you and then hate you behind your back. If an animal don't like you, it's going to let you know right off the bat it does not like you. You know, where humans will.
They might like to eat you, but they're not going to dislike you. They might look at you as a food particle.
Well, and as for humans in the common good, you have to remember the Holy Wars, where the Protestants fought the Catholics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got people with the same beliefs, killing each other over it to prove who's right.
Yeah.
Because one calls it something different.
Yeah, and that's the human way.
Yep.
As part of the reason why I like animals so much is because there's kind of like a purity to them. It's like, and this is just my personal thing, animals are one of the few things that will unconditionally love you. And you look at abused animals, which of course I don't condone, but an abused animal still have love for its owner sometimes. And I mean, it's like, it's sad, but it's just like, people aren't that, I guess, selfless, or can't think of the right word, but I guess that's why I connect with animals more than most people. Just like, I don't know, and there's also not a lot of the BS that goes along with being a human.
Animals are non-judgmental. They don't judge you. They don't take and try to figure you out. They just know if you're good to them, they love you, you know, or they have respect for you, and you're their master, and they will do anything for you.
Well, I'm actually the pet. Momo's my master. I think that's why a lot of guys don't like cats, is because they're not subordinate. They just kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
Cats are assholes.
I love them.
I love them.
You know, you don't choose an animal chooses you. You can go and get yourself a puppy or something. That puppy could grow up and hate your guts.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Not if you treat it right, though. I mean, it's got to have some... Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize. I was going to say, not necessarily, because years ago when we got our dog Penny, she was my wife's dog. I mean, I pet her and played with her, but she was, you know, my wife's dog. And she just gravitated to me. She's latched on to me, so she's adopted me. And we have another dog, one of her daughters, has just somehow gravitated towards my wife, and won't have anything. Well, I mean, she'll play with everybody else, but when it's time for bed, she goes straight to my wife. You know, it's weird. They do pick who they want to be with or be around.
Yeah, that's right.
But cats, they'll just give you the middle finger and be like, screw you, I'm doing whatever I wanted to do.
That's right.
Well, I will say that Momo did pick me because I found her at a shelter that I used to volunteer for, and she was like one of the first cats, if not the first cat that I saw, because she was literally bouncing off the walls. Like, they had like these metal cages that kind of look like a cat prison almost, where they're just like side by side and stacked. So she's like in there with her, I think it was her sister, and she's literally just jumping off the walls. I guess because she saw her reflection, because it's metal. I'm not really sure. She was just playing, but she was literally bouncing off the walls. So when you see her running, like tearing shit, like just running, I mean, I guess that's just normal for her.
She's probably saying, let me the hell out of here.
She doesn't like outside, though.
All right, people, I got to jump off here. It's been good talking to you all.
Yeah, same here, Raven. It's good to see you.
You know,
You're gonna go watch Phil's show, Raven?
no, I'm gonna be with the wife now and watch TV. So I'll see you guys Saturday. There you go,
See you
Thor.
Saturday, Raven. I salute
See you
you.
guys Saturday, and as usual, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself, too.
See you, Uncle Raven.
Later, Uncle Raven.
Well, that was refreshing. Never met a Wiccan before, but I appreciate his attitude, and actually sounds pretty good, you know. It's kind of like worship of nature.
Yeah, more naturalist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a really good religion right there, Shintoism. That is non-interfering with the world, appreciate the beauty that's out there. I could get, if I was ever to really get behind a religion, that might be the one that did the trick.
Right.
There's no dogma behind it either.
No.
That'd be a lot easier to get behind.
One problem the Japanese have never been able to transcend, though, is that, you know, prior to World War II, the emperor was viewed as a god. Yeah. And, you know, he pretty much declared he was not a god after they were defeated, you know, in World War II. But I think there's a lot of older Japanese that still view the emperor as a god.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how different cultures, you know, turn to their leaders in different ways. It's kind of like North Korea today. Kim Jong-il is a god to those people. He's the only one that they know. He's their master, and they bow down to him. And if they don't, they're toast. So, you know, it's a good example of where the lack of freedom can distort your perspective on life, because I don't think most of them there have any real idea that there are things that are far better than what they have. You know, they think they're probably grateful for the great leader, and you know, if they're not grateful, he does them in.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's messed up, because, I mean, you're right, they do. They kill you if you say a word crossways to them.
Yeah.
You know, and, I mean, you're not allowed to be your own person.
Absolutely.
Whether you want to be or not, you know.
Yeah, and there's a perfect illustration of fear and control, you know, overrunning a society.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're so lucky to have a democratic government and a constitution that was written by really intelligent men who could foresee the problems of society and try to put those words into on a parchment that would help guide our country. We've done marvelous things because of our Constitution in the way it was written. And we try to export that, but it's not really easily exported, you know. I mean,
Yeah. It's not a very easy thing to swallow for other people.
that's right. Well, this has been a great conversation, guys. I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
I think it's a very intimate way to get to know others, to be able to get right down and dig into your personal beliefs and get an understanding of where you're coming from. And I just kind of wish we had a fundamentalist or two on here to debate with, you know, because we're all pretty much of a like mind in this group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a feeling it wouldn't have gone quite as smooth.
It would have been more interesting, though.
Oh yeah. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah, maybe the next time around, Ren can find a couple of those out there somewhere.
I try to have as many different views as possible, but I mean, you guys were the only one that responded. So I mean, I'm not going to force somebody to be on here. And in my real life, I don't know. Well, number one, I don't think anyone in my real life would come on camera. And number two, none of them are religious. I just happen to know a lot of non-religious people. They might label themselves as something, as believing in something, but as far as like being like hardcore, I don't really know too many people. So.
Well, it's real easy to say, well, I'm a Christian, but then when it comes down to the brass tacks, you know, they'll be like, well, you know, not today. not when it gets rough.
I was gonna say I know plenty of folks who are pretty deeply involved in churches. I don't think they would ever be open to coming on to YouTube and having this conversation. I don't think they'd be open-minded. Even, you know, I've had the conversation with a couple people at work. You know, I'm sitting over here drinking out of a clear glass. You're sitting over there drinking out of a blue glass. We're both drinking water. You know. Like, so and you know, most of the time I really think that the argument, if it went far enough, would turn around to "fuck you, I want your water, put it in my glass."
Yeah.
Well, Fresh, I knew you were my kind of guy when I saw your clear glass. It's the same glass I'm using here.
Absolutely. Nothing better. There's nothing better than the good mason jar mug.
Absolutely.
The only thing that
yeah, Shane Smith would be an interesting one to get on. He's a born again Christian. I saw him out there in the comments. It looks like he is taken off, but he's a really, really good guy. So
he got offended and left. So I don't think he could.
We didn't say anything offensive.
Because people in the chat were just talking about what he believed in, and
got offended
I guess
at
he
them.
felt like he was getting ganged up on, which, I mean, I personally didn't see that, but, I mean, I warned you guys, like, numerous times, like, if you're the type of person that gets offended by stuff like that, if you have problems people talking about your views, like, don't come on here.
Yeah.
But,
Well, the way I look at it, if you're easily offended by your beliefs or your religion or whatever, don't let it be known. I mean, you know, that way that takes away the ammo from anybody else that wants to pick on you.
No.
You know, unless, you know, you just want to shout to the world. But if you're that kind, then you should be willing to stand up and fight and say, you know, I'm right, screw you, and whatever. I don't know. I don't care either way.
You should be able to present some evidence as to why your belief is true and valid, you know. And that's
Instead of running away.
really have a hard time, because it's awfully hard to codify and stand up for something that's basically superstition.
Yeah.
well, to me, I mean, the thing about religion is it's not really provable. It's what you believe in, and beliefs, you know, you can't really prove. So that part I don't really care about. But it's like, if you're so defensive about it, why are you so defensive? If you're very firm in what you believe, why are you defensive about it?
Yeah.
Why should you care about what anybody says? Like, I'm firm in my love for Momo. if people were to tell me she's a bitch, which they have, and, you know, like, because she is, like, she's not, she doesn't really warm up to people. Like, she's not going to just scratch you, but, like, my dad is kind of, like, pissy because she's not, like, a dog and doesn't, like, fall over him. I'm like, she's a cat, number one, and number two, she doesn't know you. So she's not going to act like that. But does that change my love for her? No. I know how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cat, Ivana frightens the lady that watches my cat. she frightens her because she's all purrs and purrs and purrs, and then like that, it's hissing and biting time.
That's why I don't like cats.
I like the challenge. I like the challenge.
I'm used to it, so I know where the line is. Because she'll sit there and hiss at you with the ears back and be trying to bite you and be purring at the same time.
That tail's just switching around like crazy.
Yep.
I don't know. I just like a person. Like I actually find more with a person who doesn't love everybody than like okay, I don't know how to say this right. To me, it's more of an accomplishment to be friends with somebody that doesn't love everyone, because it's more of a challenge. Like, they don't just like everybody that they come across. Like, that's kind of like me. Like, I'm kind of selective. So if I like you as a person, like, I don't know if it means more, but I don't know. I like a challenge. Like, I don't like people that just fall all over you. Like, that's not fun.
Your character.
So, like, with a dog, I mean, and I like dogs too, don't get me wrong, but I'm a cat person, because when you get love from them or attention from them, it just feels like it's more. Like, you feel more special or something, I don't know.
Makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
Like I said, cats are assholes. And they'll pick who they like and who they don't like. You're right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I do tend to fall for assholes, so makes sense.
It's one of the problems with religious people, religious fundamentalists. They tend to look down upon anyone who's not of their persuasion, you know. They look upon themselves as basically righteous, more righteous than others, and that makes it real difficult to communicate with them often.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Because they get on like a soapbox or whatever, and they get the holier than thou thing without even listening to your point of view.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was saying earlier. Just the closed-minded or so narrow-minded, they're not even willing to give it a shot. You know.
How long we been on here now, Rin?
About an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more.
Hour and a half, yeah. Are we intruding on the other show? Let me check.
It's supposed to start at 10, I think.
Oh, 9.
Well, maybe we ought to sign off here. It's been a great show, and enjoyed it myself.
I love this show. I love this show, Rin. Thanks for putting this together. The other show is on the air, Rin.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to him. I don't know if he will, but I mean, all views are welcome as long as you can be respectful and don't get, all pissy about it. That's all.
I think I'm going to sign off because I would like to see Suck My Mod.
See how it goes.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for coming on. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for being respectful. We didn't really have too many issues, so thank you. And we might do this again if we can get people together, if people would like to come back, or more people would like to come. I don't have anything against Christians. I'm just saying, like, don't be defensive. That's the only thing. But have a good evening, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be beautiful to each other, everybody.